Hello everyone and welcome to another Salesforce Ben LinkedIn Live. This time we're collaborating with Opsera to bring you the latest information on DevOps 3.0. Whilst DevOps is still quite new to Salesforce admins and developers, there's been a few developments over the past several years. And the real question is, are you ready? So before we get things kicked off, please let me know in the comments where you're joining from today. I'd love to see where everyone's from. A few house rules to go over. This is a LinkedIn Live. It will be recorded and it will be available on our LinkedIn and our YouTube. All lines will be muted, but don't worry, the comment section is open, so feel free to chat and ask questions through there. Perfect. So I'm delighted to introduce you to Kumar. Hi, Kumar.
Thank you. The Salesforce Ben team, and for your support and giving the opportunity and to share some thought leadership with the community. And then we also want to learn from the community, see where they are. But glad to have the opportunity to associate with you guys and share some knowledge and experience that we are seeing in the industry. Thank you very much.
Should be great. Well, I'll hand it over to you now, and I'll see you at the end for the Q&A.
Thank you. I'm just going to go to the deck right away before I get to it. And thank you everyone for good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depends on where you are. I know the multiple time zones, and I just want to make sure that we thank you for your time and thank you for joining today. I'm Kumar Shivkala, co-founder and CEO of Opsera. Today we are here to talk about what is the evolution of Salesforce DevOps, and we are coining the term as DevOps 3.0. I will explain what it is and what the journey looks like, and what are the pros and cons in each of them, and what are the benefits, maturity model, and then what are the takeaways from the conversation. So I just introduced, but I'll also introduce Opsera first. Opsera, we are the unified DevOps platform where our goal and vision is to empower enterprise companies and developers to make the software delivery faster, better, and secure. There could be any software, it could be SaaS, SDLC, infra as a code, and also provide end-to-end visibility as well. Without any further ado, I'm just going to touch upon the few topics. Feel free to post any questions that you may have. Happy to take them. And as part of the conversation, keep it interactive. And we want to hear your feedback as well. So first and foremost thing is agenda. We thought about it and how do we explain this whole thing and in general what's happening in the industry. Doing the brainstorm, I have to start from the definition of DevOps, but most of you know the definition. I'm not going to bore you down with it. And then how the Salesforce adopted the DevOps practices and how the evolutions happen. What are the key benefits of the DevOps 3.0 maturity model as well. What is DevOps? I believe that most of you know. In case if you don't know, and this is not the definition, I made it up. This is from AWS, Gartner, a bunch of others, also salesforceben.com. We took the picture from there. It's a culture and it's philosophy, and as well as its practice and the collection of tools, combination of all of them. They need to come together to help enterprises and the developers to shorten the development life cycle and to provide continuous delivery with highest software quality and security. That is the genesis behind that. The software delivery was there when the software really came into the market with mainframe and as well as client server, now the cloud and three-tier architecture. It's there, but the form of the delivery is changed significantly with cloud and SaaS applications. And that's where the DevOps is taken into a different level, different orbit altogether. It's very prevalent and it's something that's very commonly used in the companies. And most of the enterprise companies are aware of this DevOps. There is a DevOps, there are dedicated teams as well. So the idea is you build something, you try to go through your pipelines and delivery pipelines, you ship it to the customers faster, better, secure, and also have a feedback loop mechanism to ensure that what you're delivering is working, and also it's helping the enterprise, helping the consumers or enterprises to achieve their own goals as well. That's a definition and a simple, easy. Let's take a next step, right? In the context of the DevOps, what is it for Salesforce? How Salesforce fits into the DevOps? So as you can see, the concepts are same, but how do we overlay the DevOps concepts into Salesforce? It's like Salesforce is a platform, it's SaaS platform, it's done differently, but Salesforce grew significantly in the last 15, 20 years, where more than just one platform, and it has so many modules. Started with CRM, now that they have many aspects that are added, Service Cloud and Support Cloud, Data Cloud, and you name it, but they also added other companies as well, right? You have Tableau, Slack, MuleSoft. They continue to acquire a bunch of other companies, it's not easy for them to do the development the way they've done it, the way they design and architect it in the first place. But at the core of the Salesforce, there are few stages inside the Salesforce DevOps. Then you need to have some kind of a source code management where you want to have to keep your packages, metadata, your profiles, permission, so that you can coordinate with multiple developers, multiple engineers within the company. And when you have the source code and you have a sandbox, Salesforce sandbox, you interact with sandbox and source code a lot. And what the reason being is, you want to ensure that your stories and your activities have been performed, and before you push them to the higher level environments. When you're ready to push your code and integrate them, that's where your package.xml, and where you go through the integration test, the full unit testing, and then you have code scanning to make sure that you don't have any known vulnerabilities and known issues have been addressed. And then you deploy them before you do the functional testing. And before you deploy them, you have an opportunity to have a way to protect yourself with some kind of resiliency, with backup, so that you have, in case of an event of failure, you can restore your metadata, and change management and ITSM, so that you can have audit trail. All these things are important because especially when enterprise company, when you have a more than 10 to 15 developers, it tend to be very challenging to manage the overall Salesforce DevOps functions, which is what we've seen it many companies. And you need to have a process and platform and be in a position to manage these things, as opposed to continue to do to like resources. And it is not scalable model. It impacts your go to market, it impacts your agility, velocity, it impacts your shift left automation of security, quality, posture. It also impacts the overall governance. And you don't want to caught in between when there's an audit issue, when there's a security issue, when the quality issue. Those things have become so expensive for you, and also takes away your focus on doing the things that matters to the company. So these are the stages, and by no means we are saying that this is completely fixed. There are ways you can make more adjustments. We can talk about it as course of the next few slides. And in the essence, we still bring in the core kind of concepts of CI/CD and then DevOps concepts to the mix, like how do you integrate with the continuous integration, continuous development, and continuous deployment, and using the shift left automation along with the checks and balances and guardrails that you can use it. How do you manage all of them into one common place? And also, is there any way you can extend the platform beyond Salesforce? Because Salesforce is not no longer one cloud or one application. There's a collection of applications. They're not all built on Salesforce as well. Okay. So now I'm just going to introduce there are three phases I'm going to introduce, and keep it simple to you guys. 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Just bear with me for the next 5 minutes. I'll be able to unpack, and we're happy to have a conversation followed by that. So when Salesforce came in, it used to be people were struggling. They introduced manual deployments, and Salesforce came up with the change sets. Most of you know change sets is a native tool that was developed by Salesforce. It's done we calling it 1.0. You can use Salesforce 1.0 change sets to make some changes. It works well when you are one or two developers, when you don't have a lot of changes. Maybe you can manage with one or two like environments. It is still manageable with smaller team, and but it's not elegant. It's not you will not get the governance. You don't get the shift left automation. It's very error prone, and also you can code overrides, and you have to track this manually. Do you really want to kill yourself in the day and age that we are living in the cloud and digitization, and doing this work for 15-16 hours, where you can do it in less than 5 minutes and less than 10 minutes, where you can free up your time, focus on your valuable aspect, whether in other priorities or your personal time, right? You don't want to spend the time just focusing on doing the things that can be automated, can be managed effectively, and you can also upskill yourself as well. And it's very cumbersome. Like we talked about some of the key differences. I'll just call it out the way it is. Manual deployments, as you know, it takes time. I covered that. Error prone, because when you do such a manual way of doing it, especially the complex ecosystem in Salesforce, you tend to make mistakes, because it is possible that you can't be perfect in every aspect of it, right? And you have to track these things. When the audit and compliance aspect, it is very hard to pull the information and share it with them. Not only for the audit and compliance, if something goes wrong, how do you even backtrack yourself? And then potential code overwrites happens all the time, because when you have more than 3-4 developers, you have to coordinate together between them, right? How do you do that? And it's also not easy to differences between some of the components, especially when you want to make a change to Apex class versus you have a custom object versus something else. How do you ensure that who is working on what, and how do you ensure that you're not stepping on other person's changes and releases? And dependency is very hard to see it, because you select a component. How do you ensure that you have dependencies also there? The last but not least, integration to your commonly used tools today, because especially with remote work, that is how people are adopted hybrid environment. Your Slack, Microsoft Teams, Jira, ServiceNow, and quality security tools, it becomes a challenge, and you don't have a way to integrate. And how do you communicate, coordinate? You don't want to cut and paste a bunch of these things. You need to have a native integration to these things to enable your team and enable yourself to have effective releases. That's where it was started. And some of the things that we see and we hear from the people, it's cumbersome, challenge, very difficult. People want to move away, but we still see people using change sets. If you're still in change sets, don't worry about it. We help the people to migrate away from change sets. We can also explain that how we enable them to move away from change sets and custom solutions as well. So the second piece is about I hear that all the time, like, oh, I have a Jenkins and I've put together. People are very proud about it. There's nothing wrong with it, as long as you know you have a staff and you have a bunch of resources, and people are okay with poor experience, and people are okay with relying on one person to do everything. Totally fine. You're as good as that person to build the pipeline. So Jenkins is a great tool. We love it, but at the same token, it is not. You can't use the same tool for every function that is available, right? You can do it, but it is not a fit for function in this case. It's not purpose built for Salesforce. When you don't have purpose built for Salesforce, or maybe in the combination of that, you run into severe limitations, which we talked about it, like Git merge conflicts, and especially with developers, it's a challenge. And metadata backups and recoveries, rollbacks, going to be a nightmare for you. And deployment dependency, you can do that, but you have to write a Jenkins file, Groovy file, shared library, bunch of other things. It has Jenkins comes with plugins, but you have to manage the plugin. Something goes wrong, you have to pull your hair, and then your approvals and gates, and it's something you have to custom develop yourself, and then you don't get the insights. And more importantly, Salesforce developers, which we interact, they are good at what they do inside the Salesforce. Now you have to find a way to come out of it and learn how to write the code. You have to manage the things like Groovy file, Groovy scripts, and Jenkins file, or shared libraries. It's not a scalable solution. It requires a lot of resources to manage it. We've seen a couple of customers where some third-party vendor came and built it, and they spent hundreds and thousands of dollars when they had a situation where it was failing, and there was no one to resolve it. They can't pay another hundreds of thousands of dollars to engage a vendor to fix it. And it's not easy. Like, once you build it and it's running, it's okay, but when it fails, you have no idea how to solve it. That's the situation we don't want any enterprises or developers to be in the first place. Now there's improvement that happened in the industry. The industry recognized a few years back, 4 or 5 years back, and they started a bunch of plethora of solutions came in. And I'm going to call this a black box solutions. No offense there, but I'll explain why black box solution is, because it is just developed for the Salesforce, but also it comes with limitations, because you're force fitting the people to use the way you designed your solution, which is not a right thing for the enterprises, because they already made investment in the source code, investment in third-party vendor, third-party tools, and also teams they have standards and governance and architecture. You don't want to force fit them into black box solution. It'll work, but you're isolating the Salesforce from the overall DevOps ecosystem, and you're also stifling them from innovation to do some things that they can do with other ecosystem that they already built by the enterprise companies. You don't want to make it as a Salesforce DevOps as yet another special thing and leave it there as well. It is special, but it can be integrated with the overall DevOps DevSecOps ecosystem. You need to give the choice and flexibility for the enterprise customers, so that they're not in the vendor lock-in situation. And it's very cumbersome. You have to train a separate team, a separate resource team that you have to manage. You can leverage the same practices that has been designed for overall DevOps, and then you will not get the efficiencies. You have to pay extra money, OpEx challenges, and you have a separate team managing it, and you have to continue to manage the talent and upskilling as well. And in the day and age of generative AI plus all the automation that is coming in, you need to think about long and hard and see how do you adopt the source-driven development, source-driven deployment, because you need to make your source code as a single source of truth when you want to scale your team and want to manage it. And you want to use it beyond just Salesforce or multiple clouds in Salesforce, multiple SaaS applications. Yeah, good luck with it. It's very hard to use it with the current solution that you guys have. And these are the things we recognize it. I'm not trying to these are the things we hear from the customers when we interact with them. They want to have a native integration to third party vendors, like whether it be Selenium, whether it be code scanning, or SonarQube, or Checkmarks, or your Provar, or ITSM tools like Jira, ServiceNow, or collaboration tools like Slack and Microsoft Teams. You don't have to pay extra money to have this. These are the things that commonly use DevOps practices: testing, security, collaboration, ITSM. You expect these things to be there inside the ecosystem, inside the platform, and you want to ensure that you're delivering with quality security tools as well, and also without compromising the speed. How do you protect your agility and also security, and be able to have a governance and put things and features in a customer hands faster and better and secure as well? So in doing so, how do you get the overall visibility and governance? Right now, DevOps 2.0 solutions, they give some visibility, but it's in their own way of doing it. Dora metrics, and which is very much Google talks about it. DevOps with Dora, they go hand in hand for the most part in terms of how you can measure your velocity, stability, reliability, agility, and whatnot. The way the four famous Dora metrics that you have: change failure rate, and your MTTR, and your lead time, and the deployment frequency. Like these are the four important key items. We can talk about it. Like I don't want to just bore you down with just a tangential way, but I want to give you the 30 seconds overview why these things are important. How do you ensure that the changes you're making are stable and resilient, and also improving your productivity, and also improving your customer experience? You have to have somewhere to measure that. Dora metrics is one indicator. I'm not saying that that's the only way, and having the Dora metrics will help you achieve your better outcome and improving the building the high performance teams. And you need to have these not only Dora metrics, developer productivity metrics, security posture, and within the Salesforce ecosystem, you need to be in a position to trace it back to the commit to the core, your component that you released, and how do you ensure that you backtrack in the changes, and understand which test class used, and whether this change went through the proper validation testing. So you got to have a way to understand and where the bottlenecks, where the challenges. So visibility and governance is paramount, and especially in with the ecosystem that is so complex now, with multiple applications, multiple clouds, and dispersed. We have teams that are distributed across various geolocations, various regions as well. So that's about history. 2.0, predominantly the way most of the enterprises are here, and you continue to see some shifting differently, but most of them, 70 to 80% are DevOps 2.0, based on what we see. In case you guys have any feedback or so, like, let us know. And if you're 1.0, 2.0, look happy to get some feedback from as part of the discussion as well. Now the Salesforce DevOps 3.0, this is something that where we see not only us, Gartner, and as well as industry, and they're talking about it. So there is a new term, and we used to call value stream management, value stream delivery in the DevOps thing, but now they're calling it as a DevOps as a platform. We've been preaching it for the last 3 years. And you having unified DevOps platform without compromising the autonomy and choice and flexibility. You want to have Salesforce team to have their own Salesforce DevOps ecosystem, but still be able to leverage the DevOps practices. And same thing with respect to MuleSoft, or maybe your Snowflake, Informatica, or SDLC application with Java, .NET, Python. How do you give the in a hub and spoke model where you can have a federated way of doing it, but still be able to get the governance, visibility, feedback loop mechanism, automation, along with your way of driving your own car at your own speed, right? So you don't want to be stopped in between. So having a unified DevOps platform is absolutely critical to achieve that. And you can get the standards and governance, visibility, feedback loop mechanism, automation. And by doing so, you can also have a way to integrate with security quality tools with thresholds and gates, and having the seamless integration. You don't have to think about after the fact. You want to make sure that you need to have a Lego blocks, Lego books. So what I mean by Lego blocks and Lego books, you need to be in a position to construct your pipelines and construct the way you do things. You need to have some kind of templates, and so that you can use it as a reference and build your own templates, or you can build the way you want it based on the standards that you have. Let's say, for example, you have a particular security tool and you want to integrate with Microsoft Teams or Slack. Someone have Jira, maybe you have Jira for story management, and ServiceNow for your change management. How do you bring all of them in a plug and play fashion? So you got to have that kind of flexibility. That is the ecosystem we are talking about when we say DevOps 3.0. So now I'm going to just go into a little deeper into it. So first and foremost thing is you need to have a source driven development, source driven deployment. What we mean by source driven development, source driven deployment, what, not just Opsera, in general industry. The source is like, where do you keep the source? More often than not, people use your source as sandbox environment. But if you need to bring your changes to the GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, any of the source code management tools are prominently used and which are adopted in the DevOps ecosystem, you need to use that and create your own branching strategy and be in a position to use it. It may sound cumbersome, but once you adopt that, scalability, agility, resilience is much greater for you. And you can scale from 10 developers to 100 developers, 100 to 300 developers. We've seen a few of our customers adopted source-driven development, source-driven deployment, and scale and move. They improved their overall agility, velocity, and also improved their overall the release, increase the number of releases and number of components that they deployed. Your happy developers, happy business users as well. And then you need to give the flexibility for them. The second part is, you've got to give the flexibility. Once you have a source driven development, source driven deployment is already adopted, how do you ensure that flexible deployments, you can move from org deployment or git to org to git, and git to git? And how do you give these options inside that? We talked about plug and play. You want to be in a position to connect your ecosystem. You don't want to be left behind just because you're running a Salesforce DevOps 2.0 or a black box solution. You need to be in a position where you can take advantage of what is happening in the industry, and how do you stay ahead of the game and also innovate yourself, right? You've got to make sure that you manage that. And you need to be in a position to extend, because when Salesforce is not, the team is not just managing Salesforce, you will manage beyond Salesforce in some cases. You don't want to have 15 different solutions lying around, one for Boomi, one for FPG, one for SnapLogic, one for Snowflake, one for Informatica, one for SDLC. You want to be in a position to bring it together, be able to leverage it without compromising the independence as well. I touched upon it, native integrations, having your native integrations to the security, like whether it be SonarQube, check marks, or your code scan, or PMD, or code analyzer, quality tools, Selenium, Provar, and any other Salesforce unit testing, validation, and ITSM, that's Jira and ServiceNow, collaboration, Microsoft Teams and Slack. You need to be in a position to plug and play, connect to them. These are the Lego blocks. How do you bring the Lego blocks in the ecosystem without thinking about it? Should not be after the fact. Having end-to-end visibility in the overall ecosystem. One is to deployment, and deployment stats is one thing. DORA metrics is a secondary thing. The second thing. Third one is, you need to have how many developers are working, how many engineers are there, how many release managers, how many releases completed last month, whether the release is complete, whether the release that is completed last month went through this proper security quality gates. Do we have a proper approvals? Do you have a proper way of auditing and go back and look at the things, how many components are deployed? You want to be in a position to track to the level, so that it becomes your life easier. You don't have to scramble, and when there's something doesn't work and something, you have to go back and track it. You want to be in a position to confidently go there and deploy things, right? So you need to have a back. If you have a backup and recovery, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, I something goes wrong, and because some change happened and they went through all the stages, but still, even if you put all the guardrails, sometimes people make mistakes and things will fall to the cracks. This is another way to protect yourself, having a backup and recovery before you do anything. Take a backup, ensure that you have a way to recover yourself in a quickly, so that you don't have to spend a lot of time and post release and scrambling yourself to find the way to recover the good known state. We touched upon audit and compliance extensively. The culmination of that, which is we call as the DevOps 3.0, where you need to be in a position to have the choice and flexibility, source-driven development, having the end-to-end visibility, automation, feedback loop mechanism, be in a position to stay in the ecosystem of DevOps as opposed to outside the DevOps and calling as DevOps. But it doesn't work that way, because you cannot able to mature yourself. You have to move the needle and be not able to achieve the outcomes that you have. So I want to touch upon some of the benefits of why you should be looking in this thing, right? So when you look at the key benefits of Salesforce 3.0, I'm going to uplift the conversation from technology features to the business benefits, right? Your scalability resilience is paramount for many companies, and especially with digital transformation, when you have multiple developers, multiple environments, and multiple projects going in simultaneously, how do you scale? How do you improve the resiliency? The second is agility, velocity, time to market. In doing so, when your scaling should not come in the way of you going faster, right? Time to market. Agility, how do you move the features faster and be able to address the needs of the customers, also your business users as well. In doing so, you don't want to compromise your security. How do you ensure quality as well? How do you ensure you're using shift left automation, be able to automate your security quality and improve your posture so that you can understand and identify, detect, and protect your good known vulnerabilities, known issues from the source code or your components and the packages, anything related to the your Apex class or JavaScript, any of them that you have. You need to be in a position to catch them, fix them, so that anything you do post go live and when we detect issues and security, it becomes costly exercise. Gartner and IBM have done the research a couple of years back. It takes about 6 to 15x time, effort, and energy and resources and cost to fix the issue post production, versus if you catch the issue, you can avoid and save that much time in the first place. Governance, we talked about governance and why governance is critical and important. And if you look at the now I unpacked each of the areas, right? These are the business benefits and key benefits for the company. And we talked about source driven development, which will help you scale and across multiple developers, multiple projects, multiple stories. And you don't have to worry about it. You can have a feature branch, and you can have a project branch, integration branch, your hotfix branch, and you have various other things. Having a proper branching structure, it will help you scale yourself as well. You need to be in a position to scale yourself by having a platform that supports SaaS applications, SDLC, having unified DevOps, because you will take full advantage of the your overall DevOps ecosystem as well. And you need to be in a position to support parallel releases as well. You need to be in a position, you don't want to just shut down everything. We have seen a customer, I want to make a release and I want to freeze the entire thing for 2 weeks. You don't want to do that. And you're blocking innovation, blocking the ability to move faster, and having a rollback capability, there is a resiliency aspect of it. Resiliency is twofold. One is with people resiliency and the platform resiliency. That's about scalability and resilience. And when it comes to agility, you want to have lock the release branches so that people don't have to, and make sure that you put the mandate code reviews and gated approval so that you can improve the quality of the code in every step of the way. Why it is important? Because the more you improve the quality at the lower level environment, when you go to the higher level environments, failures are less and faster releases, and you don't have to, you can seamlessly push the components through automation. Otherwise, even if you put automation, quality is not there, you suffer with multiple outages, multiple issues. You don't want to do that. And integrate with your tools that we talked about it, and having the backup and recovery. Again, agility comes along the way. One is resiliency. You can quickly recover, restore, and move on. And then third one is, which we talked about, shift left automation. And you need to have the code level when you're doing the checking the code, also when you're moving through the code, the various environments, having the various gated approvals, and you can detect the issues and put the thresholds in such a way you can mature into it. Now you don't have to achieve the 100% security quality posture. It's a journey. It's not like one time event. In the shift left automation, this bucket, don't think that you just do it once and forget about it. Code is going to change, and then vulnerabilities are going to change. Your new bugs and new issues are going to pop up. You need to be in a position to have a way to connect all of them. So when you connect to the third-party vendor, third-party tools like PMD, SonarQube, Selenium, Provar, it should be seamless, and it should not be like writing a bunch of code. It should be plug and play. And you need to be in a position to put the thresholds on alerts and notification. You can mature yourself. You can have a maturity model of crawl, walk, run to the point and where you can make modification. You can improve the overall maturity from where you are. You can start with 30% security posture, maybe 40% development. Maybe when you go to quality QA environment, you can improve the 50%. When you go to UAT, you can improve 80%. When you go to production, 90%. So that you can improve the gates in such a way based on the environment, based on the business rules, policy. You can ensure that your team is achieving that, and reward them, incentivize them as well. Don't try to just focus on technology. It's part of the culture, and don't call them don't look for people when there's an issue, and try to fix the process and incentivize them, motivate them, and embrace the change in culture. Then you will get the benefits of that. When you do the governance, those are the things you have to keep in mind. And having the proper granular level of role-based access, release manager having the proper access versus Salesforce DevOps admin, so DevOps engineer versus Salesforce admin, and or you have manager. You can define these roles and in a way where they don't step on each of the functions. Developer will be spending mostly on the lower environments, and the release manager will be taking from the QA onwards, maybe to the higher environments. Salesforce admin will have production access. And how do you ensure that you're not you try to continue to protect the granular role-based access segregation of duties, but still be able to move through the chains as well. And having the visibility, and then data seeding. How do you refresh once you complete the change? How do you bring the good known state of the production copy to the sandboxes so that you don't have to struggle with it? Those are the key benefits of Salesforce DevOps 3.0. So, in interest of time, I'm just going to cover the maturity level quickly, and then talk about the Opsera, and then open for questions as well. So, why this is important? Not everything has to go into the final stage all the time. This DevOps maturity model is absolutely there's not, you don't have to follow these guidelines all by yourself. You can start where you are and walk into the journey. Sometimes I'm sure, like, you may be in the crawl and walk, some of you in walk and run, some of you maybe few companies maybe in fly state, not end to end, but we've seen couple of them. But you can start with your own pace. You don't have to go to run stage. Sometimes it's not required in all the scenarios, but at least be in a run state with the maturity model to unlock your potential, unlock your benefits. But run to fly takes some time. We'll talk about it. What is the maturity model looks like? In the crawl state, we talked about it's mostly 1.0. To be honest with you, like 1.0 predated 1.0. In the if you look at the walk, you have some automation, like maybe dabbling between 1.0 chain sets and try to do some Jenkins and whatnot. And you maybe walk and run state where you have some custom solution, a black box solution that you have. For you to go from consistently in the state of run onto the fly, you have to embrace the platform and the 3.0 concepts we talked about it to achieve the value that we are articulating in this examples and various scenarios as well. So I'll just quickly cover that. Right, in the crawl state, we're talking about mostly doing the manual way of doing it. In the walk stage, you have some kind of version control system, you have a Jira, some automation, some integrations, but it's not fully there in terms of where you can speed things up with security, quality, governance. And then when you enter a run state, that means you have a mature team. You adopted the source-driven development, source-driven deployment. You started putting the gates and quality gates and security gates, and you have a rollback mechanism. You have a static code analysis and reusable templates. But when you go to fly, that's where you have to go to the higher level. You are quantifying the benefits to the business, and you have a single pane of glass to monitor these workloads and ensure that you can have predictive and actionable insights, because you will be able to understand when something goes wrong. Instead of calling and opening a ticket, you should be in a position to understand why this validation failed, why this unit test failed, why this component didn't go, why this deployment failed. You should be able to understand those issues faster and be able to remediate them. And we touched upon DORA metrics as well, measure with them, and then understand the stability and understand the agility, velocity, and the resiliency. How do you ensure that you make smart decisions with the metrics that you have? And when higher you go on the maturity, the strategic value of the company goes up. You will be able to articulate the value to your business, your management teams as well. And these slides will be available, and we will share the information. We have if you have any interest, if you want to double click this information, we're happy to talk to you as well. So allow me to introduce Opsera Salesforce DevOps 3.0 and how we approach it as well. Right, we talked about all these components and whatnot. Opsera natively designed for these capabilities, and we are a unified DevOps platform. Our goal is to empower enterprise companies to manage the releases across any software, any cloud, and that can work in the context of Salesforce. We give you the core capabilities of DevOps 3.0 plus more as well. So first and foremost thing, we talked about flexible deployment options. You have a way to use your source-driven development. In some cases, you can also have org-to-org deployments in some lower environments, but you can also have a Git merge conflicts, native Git merge conflicts, and be in a position where you can seamlessly scale your teams as well. Out-of-the-box integration, we talked about all of them. You don't have to look at them paid separately. They come as part of the platform. You can easily plug and play. And that's what we call as the Lego blocks. And then you have a continuous visibility in tools and dashboards, and powered by Hummingbird AI, which we just released yesterday. And not only get the visibility, and you also have a way to understand and remediate and resolve issues faster with predictive way of doing it. And then compliance and governance, and we talked about it having a granular rollback mechanism, with having a blueprints for audit and logs, and standard templates, these are the Lego blocks for you. And with approval gates, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, write in the custom code, and engaging third-party vendor to the integrations. They come out of the box. You can have a proper alerts and notifications with your Slack and your Jira, email, Google Chat, whatever you have, and you can use it to send the alerts, notification, page duty, whatnot. You can get the alerts as well. And then last but not least, data seeding, data loader, data backup and recovery platform offers these things as part of that, and you will be able to take full advantage of the platform and be able to scale faster and do more things with do more with less, and then you can deliver the better software, and also you can significantly reduce the toil, and then make the team as a happy developers and have happy Salesforce admins and release managers as well. So we're not just for Salesforce releases. We can speed releases across other SaaS applications as well, and one DevOps platform that can cover it all and without compromising your depth and breadth as well. Okay, horizontal and vertical. We can go deep and wider as well. So how can you sign up? And you can sign up to the Opsera, sign up for the Salesforce DevOps 3.0, and you can Opsera.io, and you can sign up to the demo, or maybe sign up for your free trial, or with what we can offer, and then we can have a conversation. That concludes the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kuma. That was such an insightful session. I definitely understand more about DevOps in general and DevOps 3.0. So we've had a few questions in the comments, so I think we can have a look at some of those now. So Nicholas has asked, is the single-click rollback applicable to metadata and data, even if there has been many multiple items deployed with example renamed API name? I feel like I read that badly.
So right now, the in the context of DevOps 3.0, you should have for both. And if you're asking, we should have that a single click rollback. But what we're talking about is metadata for the DevOps context of the metadata. Yes, you can have the single click rollback. And for the question about data, we can definitely have a conversation, understand a little bit more about where you're coming from. Happy to have a conversation offline and share the information. For sure, single click rollback applicable we agree with you. It should be applicable for both metadata and data. I want to understand a little bit more.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you. So we have another one here from Sanjay. Is the run or fly? In the run or fly, are there any other areas where we could utilize AI to improve our process or get additional benefits?
Absolutely. You have to think about it. This is where we calling as Hummingbird AI, which is generative AI. You can have when there is a pipeline failure, when the component fails, when the test class fails, you need to be in a position to pick up the test classes, automated way of doing pick up the test classes. You don't have to manually select them. As soon as you select the component, all the dependencies select test classes. And you can also have a way to, that is a process improvement, so that you can save time. You can, when there's something happens, you should be in a position to look at the knowledge base, look at the data that you have, and predict and look at the proper error codes that you see in the ecosystem. Be in a position to tell you exactly what to do. It will not tell you, it will not press the button for you, but it will give you the idea. You should be able to have both options and finding those things and getting the visibility and making smart decisions. Absolutely, AI can help you improve your release time and velocity, and be able to achieve and do more with less. For sure, you can do that, both process and as well as how you can improve the release in general. Happy to talk to you offline and share the information. Check it out. Somebody posted Opsera.io/hummingbird AI, how we can integrate and how we are helping today, what we released yesterday.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kumar. And then throughout the webinar, we had some chatter on the Salesforce DevOps Center. I feel like our audience would love to hear your thoughts on that. So if you want to share your thoughts on DevOps Center.
So DevOps Center, I think Salesforce released rebranded the change sets into DevOps Center, and change sets been really old and they have not gone through any revisions. We think that's an upgrade of change sets, but there was some activity last year, but we have not seen a whole lot of adoption and activity. It does, but again, I leave up to Salesforce, but it's like a nascent state in my opinion, based on what we see, and it supports some parts of ecosystem. It started well, but I don't know which state it is. But we've not seen enterprise companies using in a massive way, and in the ecosystem. It has long ways to go. It has more integrations, and they have to develop the way to create the SDK for people to develop more integrations from ecosystem. I leave it up to Salesforce, but in general, it's more of an upgrade of change sets. It's not a game changer in my opinion.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's at the best, it's at the at best close to 2.0 at this point of time. Not even 2.0, close to 2.0.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So we've had a few questions come in from YouTube as well. So I can't pull them up on the screen, but I'll read them to you. So one of the questions is, why is there any need for DevOps 3.0 for Salesforce?
I missed the last part. Can you repeat that?
Why is there any need for DevOps 3.0 for Salesforce?
Because Salesforce is ecosystem is, it's not about DevOps 3.0. And as you know, like you could have used change sets. Why we have to go with 2.0 in the first place, right? The complexity is higher, greater than ever before. More and more companies are investing in the digital transformation, and then gone the days where you can have releases can happen, and where you can freeze the system, and where you force people to not do the work. You need to move the velocity, and the people expectations are different, and enterprise companies are the business users, both in the enterprise and consumers expectations are different, and you need to be in a position to move the speed that the industry is moving. And you, unless you innovate yourself, if you don't innovate yourself, you'll be disrupted by other people. So it's an evolution, right? You can't just say that, oh, what I have is going to work for you. It works great, but you want to be part of the innovation, future innovation, you have to innovate yourself, otherwise you'll be disrupted. That's the core essence of the, could be tomorrow 4.0. I'm not saying that 3.0 is the end of all, right? We went from 1.0 change sets to the black box solution to the where we are a unified platform. This is all happening for a good reason, for the industry and the community. And in doing so, there will be new companies and new ideas and new thoughts will come into the play. My recommendation is, no matter where you are, try to innovate, try to adopt, because otherwise you'll be left behind in the ecosystem. You don't want to realize that, and you don't take full advantage. More than you left behind, you leaving behind your team and company, you don't get the advantage of the. Somebody asked the question, Sanjay, how do you take advantage of the AI? How do you take advantage of the features like that? And without, if you're stuck with where you are, you continue to want to use it, but there's no easier way to do it. And you move the chains and adopt the ecosystem, then you'll be able to take advantage of the technology. Technology should be enabler, not the blocker.
That's great, thank you. And then this leads quite nicely on to another question. What common challenges should we expect to encounter as we get up to speed on Salesforce 3.0, and how can we overcome them?
Great question. So it's not a change management is always difficult. I think biggest thing I say that is about training and upskilling the team is very, very important. More often than not, people think that tool is going to magically solve the problem. But we need to be empathetic about the developers, because they've been inundated with many, many things in a day-to-day life. How can we give them necessary tools and training? And then, because they need to understand the IDE development, they need to understand some Git commands and be able to understand how the merge conflicts works, but also give you the upskilling them to the point of how can they adopt and how can they do things faster. But for that, they need basic training and some additional tools that they needed. How you can offer those things and do the change management with proper OKRs and KPIs. That is absolutely important, because if you don't do this one, change is very difficult and it's not easy. But the same token, if you apply the things with proper guardrails, proper training, and we embrace the culture, incentivize that, you will reap the benefits significantly.
That's great. Thank you, Kuma. So I think that's all we've got time for today. Before we close things off, have you got any final words for everyone?
No, first of all, thank you. And thank you, salesforceben.com, and for your support as well. Thank you, all audience, and wonderful questions, and for your time and your feedback. Looking forward to see some of the questions I couldn't cover, and we'll check them offline and see whether we can answer them through social media, or maybe reach out to you guys as well.
That's great. Massive thank you to you, Kuma, for coming on and giving such an insightful presentation, and a massive thank you to our audience, and we hope to see you all again for another LinkedIn Live shortly.
Thank you,
everyone.
Yeah.